Another week of Liberty basketball has come and gone, and it was quite a successful week this time around. I'm Miles Grossman alongside Julia Moss for our weekly Liberty report this time around. Liberty moved to 10-3 this week. 3 more wins the Sandy Brondello Liberty picked up. It was first on the road at the Atlanta Dream. They won in really what was never a competitive contest, 110-80, a 30-point victory, and then came home against the Mystics. And that was a true nail-biter. Led down the stretch, but not throughout the first quarter, and it was tight throughout. They come back, force overtime late. Courtney Vandersloot, little layup, ties it up, sends it into OT, and they win by 1, 89-88. It was special, and then they comfortably handled the Sun on the road, 89-81, and now tonight is the contest we've all been waiting for, the very first matchup between these two, the 2023 Las Vegas Aces and the 2023 New York Liberty. Before we get into this coveted matchup, it was a very successful week for the New York Liberty. Julia, what do you think were the keys for this Liberty team to really put together 3 solid wins?
Man, I feel like this was the first week that things kind of went how you thought they would go. Every week it feels like there's been a Liberty game that's either surprised you because of how much they won by or because they lost. And of course, that was with the Dream the week before, losing a game that didn't have Sabrina in it and Brianna Stewart having a very uncharacteristic game. Looking into this week, they get vengeance back against the Dream in very dominating fashion, to say the very least. And then the Mystics are a really good team. We talked about this on All In, how Elena Deladon is back into great fashion. The team is really playing together. You expected that to be a close game, and close it was. Went into overtime, ended up only being a 1-point game, a 1-point victory for the Liberty. And then you move over to the Sun, another really good team. When you think of the best of the best outside of the Aces and Liberty, you really think Mystics and Sun. So for the Liberty to get 2 wins on back-to-back games is really, really great. And I think this is the team that we should expect to see down the stretch, a good, solid, full team that is full of amazing players on this roster that are all starting to play to their potential now.
Yeah, it was a special week. They proved they were able to win in a variety of ways, right? Able to roll a team that you'd expect to win by 30, and then you play a really stout defensive team in the Mystics at home, and you're able to win in comeback fashion, more of a gritty win. I think, for the Liberty this week was it solidifies their identity a bit as a high-scoring team. I think, obviously when you have this many offensive weapons, you're going to assume this is going to be a team that can score 100 on any given night. But this week and the last couple games, they really looked like such, right? That explosive offensive unit. And, I think against the Dream, they proved that, they can right their wrongs from a rebounding perspective. In the matchup that they fell against the Dream at home, 86-79, obviously they didn't have Sab. Brianna Stewart was not herself that night, but the really tough issue to watch all night was watching them get beat on the offensive glass. So, they were able to right their wrongs from that perspective. So I think, it's a really tough stretch of basketball, like you said, Mystic, Sun, and now the Aces tonight. But the Liberty have proven that they are surely that super team that they said they are.
The thing that jumps off the page for me is the balanced scoring. They're a very high-scoring team, but that's attributed to not just one player, not just 2 players. But, you could see any scoreline from the past, I would say, 6 or 7 games, and you see 4 or 5 people in double figures, which is incredible from a roster that's so good. Just looking at this first game of the week, the 30-point victory, you've got Jonquil Jones with 18, Vanija with 19, Brianna only had 13, and it was in a 30-point victory. Other players can step up. Kayla Thornton even getting in double figures with 10, Marine Johannes. You go down the list, and, more so now than I think at the beginning of the season, you really start to realize, every player on this team has a specific purpose, and they do it better than most teams in the league, which is really great, of course. And then moving over to the Mystics game, the that incredible game. Courtney Vandersloot, known more for her dishing than scoring, being able to send that to overtime in another game where you see 4 or 5 players in double figures. Benijah, again, 17, Brianna, 18, Sabrina, 31. And I think this game really solidifies that guarding Sabrina Ionescu is just an anomaly for teams, because you never know what Sabrina you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the facilitator who only scores 8 to 13, or you're going to get 31-point Sabrina Ionescu, or the one that breaks the record for most threes in a game for the Liberty, because that's all happened in the past month.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the biggest differences about this week is that the energy, besides really that first quarter against Mystics, the energy really has seemed to be there throughout. And a big part of that is definitely Benijah Laney. I think, when she first joined this ball club, she was a 20-point-a-night type of scorer. You expected that from her. She was a focal point of this offense. And now that she's, still a starter, but steered into a bit of a different role with the superstars around her, I think, she's someone who really provides that enthusiasm, that energy, and when she gets it going from a scoring perspective, it is super contagious for the Liberty. So I think, having Benijah score like that is a big part of why the Liberty had this 3-0 week. I don't think they really would have come back and had that grit and that determination to come back without Benijah being a big part of it. So the Liberty now stand at 10-3, 5-1 on the road, ahead of now their 7th road contest against the undefeated at home Las Vegas Aces. And now, Julia, I want to turn to what really we've all been waiting for. It seems the day is here, the first real matchup between the 2023 Liberty and the 2023 Aces, a star-studded matchup. Really, it looks like an all-star team, an all-star game when we're going to watch it. I mean, according to ESPN, they say the Liberty got a 37% chance of winning. It's about a 62.4% chance for the Aces. Las Vegas, books-wise, has the Las Vegas Aces as a 6-point favorite. Now, I think it will be a difficult matchup for the Liberty on the road against a team that has proven they can win championships. Liberty not in that category. What do you think is it gonna come down to? What do the Liberty have to do well to pick up a win on the road in their toughest contest of the year?
Well, they have to rebound first and foremost. If we get into a situation like that 11-1 first half out rebounding battle on the offensive boards, like we saw versus Dream, they're going to be out of it from the first half. And something that this Aces team does so well is they maintain leads. So it's going to be tough if the Liberty get down early to really come back, as we've seen the Liberty be able to do so many times this season, is rebound from a bad first quarter, first half. But that's not going to be the case tonight, because this is a beast of a team. I think the Liberty are going to be they're going to play the advantage of the Aces' recent schedule. The Aces haven't played very many quality teams recently, and the Liberty are on the exact opposite end of 2 huge wins against 2 really good teams. So it's a momentum thing too. I mean, both of these teams have won a few games, are on winning streaks heading into this matchup, but it's the quality of wins. The Liberty have played tougher teams than the Aces, so that could play to their advantage. Just, this is just another game of the crop for them, playing just a gauntlet of teams, and the Aces have to really prepare for this team in particular. But again, like you said, this is going to be basically an all-star game. Both of these starting lineups are full of stars. I'm so excited from a fan perspective just to watch this. It's going to be great basketball. It's going to be a great game. But if it weren't to be a good game, it would be because the Aces are blowing out the Liberty. I don't see a world where it's the other way around. But another thing they have to do well, they have to score well. Breanna Stewart can't have a game where she's only scoring 15 points, and that's absurd to say, because 15 in most cases is a lot, but she's going to have to score more than 25, honestly, to keep up with this team. And Sabrina Ionescu is going to have one of her scoring games rather than one of her facilitating games, because this is a high-scoring team, but Vegas is sound on offense and defense. So they're going to have to be firing from all ends tonight. Yeah, I think this one's going to take a couple things if you're the Liberty, right? First of all, you need your stars to perform like superstars, right? Breanna Stewart and Sab, at least somewhat got to get hot from 3. I think that if the outside attack is not there for the Liberty, they absolutely don't have a chance. And on the other side of the ball, I need really stellar defensive play from the guards. I mean, when you think about the Aces, it's young
and it's gray, and it's a variety of guard options that the Liberty, I don't know if they can really match up with well defensively. Sure, the Liberty have a plethora of offensive weapons when it comes to guard play, but are they the best defenders in the league? I wouldn't say so. And obviously, the Aces are a team that they hurt you in so many ways. You know what I mean? And it's worrisome to watch that backcourt of Las Vegas in Young and Gray. It's gonna need to be one of the best defensive performances from the Liberty guards all year in Las Vegas for them to pick up a win.
I also think Maureen Johannes could be an X factor tonight, because when she gets hot, like, it's really good for the offense. She's a great 3-point shooter. I mean, of course, people know her for is facilitating and flashy passes. If I see a world where everything clicks for the Liberty and they still could only win by 5 or 6. I think that's their roof. Their ceiling rather is winning by 5 or 6. I think that's the best case scenario. But as you said, like as mentioned before, of course, with their consistent scoring down the board, you're going to need that. You're going to need that tonight in particular. You're going to need good scoring, good rebounding, and it sounds like basketball fundamentals, but this is a team that can kill you anywhere on the court, any facet of the game. So you have to be able to defend, like you said, the guards in the post. I mean, it just feels like every player on the Aces is good at what they do, but on the other hand, people say the same thing about the Liberty.
Definitely. And, these Las Vegas Aces, 13-1 overall, the winners of their last 6, 9-1 in their last 10. They average 92.8 points a contest. Just really an offensive juggernaut waiting to happen. 49.7% from the field as a team. That's not just their starters. That's as a team. And obviously, their second unit doesn't get many minutes, but just to have that 50% as a team from the field, very few teams in the WNBA touch that mark. They're only coming off that 8-point win over Indiana at home last time out. Like you said, Indiana, not necessarily the most dangerous team in the league. They're hanging around with Las Vegas for that one. It wasn't Las Vegas's best showing, so I think if the Liberty are gonna strike, this isn't the worst time. The Las Vegas Aces while they have, like you said, won their last 6, it's not necessarily their best basketball that we've ever seen from them, but Becky Hammon at home, it'll be a tough one for the New York Liberty. 5-1 on the road, looking for their 6th road win. It'll be a challenge, and I'm not sure if they're going to have what it takes. I think, it's one of those situations, Julia, where the Liberty have to play beyond their average product, while the Aces at home, your average product should suffice this evening.
I mean, this is everything that you want in a litmus test for the Liberty. All the hype, everything that we've said really comes up to this moment. And we're going to see now how likely they are to get to the championship and how real they are. Because if they come out tonight and they get blown out by the Aces, I think the fraud comments that would definitely be made might be a little deserved. But it's also not a make or break kind of thing. Even if they lose this game, I think they're still in the championship conversation, of course. But this is, the fans have been wanting this game for good reason. This is a huge game for the Liberty, and to really judge where they are, because we've seen really good games from them, but we've seen some really ugly games too. So for them to play who is, by all means, probably the championship favorite tonight in the Aces, it'll be good to see if they can compete.
Absolutely. The Aces only have the 1 loss on the year. The Liberty already have 3, and the Aces seem like the type of ball club that could easily stay around that 5-loss mark all season, barring any injuries. I'm excited for tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern. The only thing that my only gripe, this is what I will say, it is 3 10 p.m. Eastern games today. Now, I understand they are all West Coast games. Interesting enough, they're all East Coast teams flying west, but that is an abysmal scheduling error, in my opinion. 3 games, right?
Right.
No decision to stagger them whatsoever, all 10 p.m. East. One of these 3 games being the most coveted matchup of this young season. To put them all at 10 p.m. East doesn't make any sense to me. But given that, I think this one will sure draw quite the audience, Julia.
And it's not even one of those things where it's like, oh, they made the schedule before they knew. Like, they knew. They put the Liberty and the Aces playing each other like 4 times in the last 3 weeks. Like, they knew what they were doing. So this specific game really leaves me scratching my head because, as you mentioned, 3 games at 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't know how many times that's happened in the WNBA season at all this year, much less for one of the few times that happened to be tonight. Of all times, like, just put it on a different day or move the other games up. Like, they knew that this was going to be the marquee matchup. The first time the 2 teams are playing, do this. I mean, they play each other 4 or 5 times this year. Like, put it in like that 3rd game or that 2nd game where we already know kind of where they stand. With that first game, you don't want to be competing for with other matchups. You want all eyes to be on this marquee matchup tonight.
Absolutely, and it really is a marquee matchup for a reason. This is the point of the Liberty's offseason, to compete at this level with a squad like the Aces. This team, this super team, was built specifically to compete
for this game
with the dynasty in Las Vegas. If you come up short against Las Vegas consistently, obviously this is your first real opportunity. They met in the preseason. But if you fall short against Las Vegas, all of this offseason talk and all this attention does kind of seem like, hey, maybe we got a bit ahead of ourselves.
I mean, look, they didn't build this roster to blow out the Fever 3 times a year. They built this roster to win a championship. And in order to win a championship, you got to go through the Las Vegas Aces. So, as I said before, this is going to be kind of where the line is set for this team for the rest of the season. If they get blown out, they have a lot to prove for the rest of the season. If they compete, kind of the same viewpoint as where we are now. Even if they compete and lose, I'm not hitting the panic button. But man, if they're blown out, got a lot of questions to answer.
Definitely. So that will do it for this week in Liberty. Liberty 3-0 this week, and now they have the matchup against the Aces this evening. I'm Miles. She's Julia. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us, and we'll see you next week.